BookBaby Live. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. And I think this is a great way to share some information in a different way with you. Today, I think we have a really good topic. It's print on demand. I get a ton of questions about it almost every week. So it's a good opportunity to kind of lay out, what is a good program, what's not such a great program, what you should be looking for. So without further ado, Carter, let's start the slideshow. So yeah, I'm calling this Print on Demand 101 because this is a chance for authors to really break out and sell lots of books, get out in the marketplace with their product, all right? Well, my screen does not want to move. There we go. It's finally working. So a little bit about me. I'm the president of BookBaby, but in my background, I grew up on my family orchards, about 2,000 acres of pears and apples. So if you ever need any advice as to what sort of pears you need to use for this recipe, I'm your guy. Give me a call. In my long direct marketing career, I worked for Mattel. Yes, Barbie's house, the Malibu Dream House. Quite an experience, and I learned a lot there. But I think my most important qualification for being here today is I, too, am a self-published author. I know the pains, I know the agonies, I know the joy, I know the triumphs. And it's a very special place when you can say, yeah, you're a self-published author. So here's what we do during these sessions, hopefully high energy. I talk about something for 15, 17 minutes, something like that. I keep the topics on self-publishing and marketing. It's not a commercial for BookBaby, but I'm going to mention them along the ways. I have to. I'm the president. I get paid to do that. And then we're going to have time for your questions after all. So send your questions, put them in the comment box, and I'll get to them at the end of the show. I've already got some that have been emailed in too, so I'll get that. By the way, when we show these covers, these are covers that are done by our BookBaby design team, and each week they just blow me away with some of the amazing work that they have done. So, and in addition to that, one lucky attendee at every event is going to be selected at random, and we have a 15-minute publishing consultation. Had a couple of great talks so far with authors, and they didn't go 15 minutes. They went a lot longer. So there's good value of that, and besides, it's free. So here's how you do that. You share this video and tag a friend in the comments to be automatically entered to win this consultation. So do that, and who knows, we might have a nice afternoon talking about your book, okay? So here's what I want to talk about today. And I want to print on demand really is part of the self-publishing revolution. I kind of want to do a brief history. Okay, that's a little bit too far back, but that could be considered self-publishing. And then we had the Gutenberg press, the movable type, that really brought about the opportunity for books to be distributed to the masses. Now it's still in the hands of trade publishing and traditional publishing. So I wouldn't say it was completely democracy at play just yet, but at least it was a huge step forward. Of course, what happened is you need to print lots and lots of books to make it a profitable thing. These giant offset machines had to print thousands of books at a time to make them, come down in price. So when a lot of people talk about the beginning of the self-publishing revolution, they think about those things. The Kindle devices, pioneered by Amazon, 15 years ago, and the iPad with Apple, which is the reason BookBaby even came into being. Someday I'll tell that story. And there's no question about it. This really opened the doors for millions of authors eventually to get out, outflank traditional publishing gatekeepers and get their books out on the marketplace. And it really opened the doors for people. And I don't question that the revolution was started by the Kindle. But frankly, I don't think that's the real story about why it has sustained. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. I think there's another part of the story that needs to be paid. You need to pay attention to as to why this revolution is continuing and growing and not just a short-lived digital thing. And it's about my three favorite letters, POD. So this is defined, it's a printing technology in which book copies aren't printed until the printer basically gets an order. And that allows for prints of very small quantities, even just one book in a perfectly cut, trimmed, shipped out directly to the customer. It really is a fabulous thing. This is a machine that does it. I believe this is an HP 10,000. We've got a few of those sitting in our plant. We just took possession of our first HP 100,000 that was moved into our facility this week, and I'll be sharing some pictures online about that. Incredible machines, they truly are. And it's important that self-published authors have this kind of access to printed books because of what industry numbers I have found. So if you bear with me here a little bit on numbers. So there was a study done not too long ago asking, how do you like to read books? What medium do you prefer? 49% of people say they only read printed books. And this number has held its wavered between 47 to 51, depending upon what year it is. But it's basically half the audience says, you know what? I love my ink. I love my paper. It's not going away. I remember I was going through some files recently, and this is from like 2015, and there was articles screaming, ebooks will overtake the marketplace, within 2020, and print is dead. Nobody's going to want books anymore. Well, that's obviously not the case, because print remains the standard, especially here in the U.S. It's a little bit different in third world countries where they've skipped a technology transfer, as a matter of fact, and they're using a lot more digital. But this is the way it is in the U.S. So the 27% of people prefer just reading ebooks only, and that never has gone much higher than 30 or 32%. So that number's held steady. And then there's this other bucket up here, both print and ebooks. That's where I fall into. Yeah, I've got my beloved classics that every once in a while I open up, but boy, there's nothing better than having the convenience of a whole library of books on your phone. So what does that mean? It's 73% of your potential marketplace involves printed books. So I submit to you, my argument about the self-publishing revolution is, without print on demand, I think it would have not been nearly as successful as what indie authors are finding today. And print on demand was what brought it to the forefront. All right. So let me talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of it. Here's where I get tons of questions, and it really is easier than you might imagine. Okay, first thing you've got to do, as you do if you were printing 1,000 books, is we need file prep. Every print-on-demand place is going to need you to supply, or they work up print-ready PDF files, okay? And then next thing, it's going to be placed on websites. Amazon, of course, is important. Barnes & Noble, getting in the Ingram feed, things like that. Got to have it out there in the marketplace. All right. Basically, an author's job is pretty much done. Well, you've got to market, do things like that. But in this process, you're finished, okay? So what happens next? Well, your reader finds it and orders it through Amazon, the website, or through your own proprietary website. But at this point, remember, the author pays nothing, all right? Yes, the reader has purchased a book, but the author doesn't need to dip to pay a printer or anybody else to do it. They just sit back and let the process happen. I get a ton of questions saying, well, how much will I have to pay for each print-on-demand copy? No, zero, okay? The numbers shake out, and I'll show you how that happens, okay? The third thing is this. The store orders a book. So if you order it through Amazon, they order the book. It's supposed to go into the warehouse. Warehouse ships it out. Or if you have a print-on-demand program where you're working with the actual printer and it's just sold through your website and not going through a warehouse, well, the printer can actually box up the book, ship it directly to your authors. And then there's some programs which do both, which BookBaby is one of those, by the way. All right. Fourth thing, obviously, we print, cut, bind, ship one book. And it's amazing to watch these single orders come out, just as good looking as if it was an offset run of 100,000 books. It's really amazing. This is the important part for authors. All the author has to do is you get royalty checks, all right? You don't have to lift a finger for the POD, process magic to take place. You just sit back, collect money, send more people to the website, your web pages, send them to, get people to order the book, and the money just comes to you, all right? So to me, there are so many advantages, of POD versus the previous incantation of what printing has. There's a great quality control. Digital printing, it really is a miracle, because book number 1 is going to look exactly like book number 1001, because it's a digital file and it's very precise, okay? Very few upfront costs. You don't have to pay $10,000 for a big run of books and have potentially wasted inventory, all right? Your mother's going to be happy. You don't have to store books in her basement. You can have a good Mother's Day. I'm always all for that. Because of the numbers I listed before, you get to target almost 75% of the reading marketplace because you have print available along with your ebooks. And some people do both soft cover and hardcover books. So this is a great opportunity. It's good for the environment. Earth Day was the other day. So, we're not shredding up a whole bunch of extra books and throwing them out. And as I say, all authors get to do is sit back and cash checks. And that is not a bad thing. Okay. Now, here comes the important part. And I hope you can take some notes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to send you to an article a little bit later on, which lays out my next few points in real detail. But they're not alike. So you need to shop and find out what program works for you. Okay. So first of all, some companies have setup fees and printed requirements for books to get involved with the program. BookBaby has them. We do have a setup fee. We ask you to print 25 books for our program. And the reason really simple. You're going to want some books to hand out to your friends, your ex-wife, your English teacher who gave you an F. You can shove it in their face. There are lots of reasons to have some printed books on hand. So, but it's also a great chance for us to dial our machines in, print some books, make sure they look good. So you should ask about that and find out what kind of requirements there are. Next thing is this. Do they offer all trim sizes? Now, when you get into genres of books, I'll pick children's books. The 8.5 by 8.5 square size is very popular. Not all programs offer all of the trim sizes. Make sure they offer the trim size that you like and that's best for your genre. Same thing in terms of the binding. Do they offer both hard and soft cover books? That's very important too. Again, a lot of children's books, they love that hardcover, color hardcover book in that 8.5 by 8.5. Make sure if you're a children's book author, make sure that program has that so you can delight your audiences. Where do they distribute? Always very important. I think all three of our broadcasts so far have mentioned something about distribution, how big that is. Why distribution? Yes, Amazon is a given, but my God, there's so many other places. Powell's in the Northwest, my old stomping ground, the powerhouse for print-on-demand books. Books A Million around the Southeast, I think it is where they're located. Of course, Barnes & Noble. And then also being in the Ingram feed. And the Ingram feed and Baker and Taylor, this is where retail stores can order your books. All right. And that's, if you want to be considered alongside of the big boys, you need that. But here's the next point. And it's one that, frankly, is a difficult discussion for a lot of authors because they don't want to think about somebody who's actually going to return their book. But the fact is that not every store is going to sell out of your book, right? They're going to order 10 and maybe 8 get sold. So they need to be able to return books. All right. You need to ask your POD provider, are they returnable? All right. Is this something? And the reason is very simple. For this, it must be returnable because they don't want to take the risk of having unsold inventory in their warehouse. So this is a big deal. And happy to say, BookBaby program, we do offer this as a return situation. That's why we have our setup fee, and that's how the economics of that work. All right, and then finally, what kind of royalties do they pay? And what we find is print on demand. No two ways about it. There are lots of hands in the till. There's a store. There's the printer. There could be a distributor. There's shipping. All right. So what kind of royalties can you expect? Typically, and again, it's going to depend a lot on pricing, size of the book, all kinds of factors. But I'm going to say a ballpark number between 12 to 15% is what you'll get from of the net royalties. If you sell from an Amazon, a Barnes & Noble, any of the online retailers. However, there are opportunities if you can have a program where you can sell your books directly to your readers through your website, through some kind of e-commerce page, you can earn a lot more. And I'll just give for instance, if you sell a printed book through the BookBaby bookshop, 50% royalties, 50%, which is by far the highest I think I've seen in the industry. So just remember, we do offer that program. So not a commercial, but just a helpful reminder. All right. So again, let's sum up POD. All right. It's a huge success. It's a must-have to really have your program well-rounded, that you're offering all of the formats. POD is just a great answer for you. Ebooks are great, no question about it. Instrumental in getting so many millions of authors to the marketplace, but print is where 75% of the audience wants your book. Okay, it's simple, it's easy. Set it up once, and you just cash checks from now on. I can't think of something better than that. You've got to shop though. You find the best POD provider. Make sure it's your size of book. What's your sweet spot for the trim and for the binding? Make sure of that. Double check that as you're talking to them. And then finally, it's got to be a returnable book. This is something that, again, it's kind of a hard subject to bring up when our publishing specialists talk with folks, but it's inevitable. Books are going to be returned. A bookstore is not going to even touch a book that cannot be brought back up the food chain if it happens not to sell. Just the reality of life, okay? So I did a blog post on this in a lot more detail. I welcome you to jump in and, if you want to learn more about the subject in depth, I just posted this on the BookBaby blog. You go to bookbaby.com, you look at the blog tab there at the top left, top right, and you'll find my article on the front page. We got a very nice note a week ago from Katie. She says, my book hasn't been released yet, but thus far, BookBaby has been exceptional to work with. Everyone I've communicated with has been kind, professional, and thorough. I might not have gotten the six-figure advance with BookBaby that I'd gotten if I were represented by an agent, but the positive energy with this group far exceeds anything money could buy. I'm more in control of my book. I have a group of people who feel like my team and not a boss, and I was able to learn so much. As self-publishing encouraged me to do all the copyright on my own. I love this company so much that I consider working for them. 5 stars isn't enough. That's all I can say. By the way, we are still looking for a few people. Go to our careers tab if you're interested in working with BookBaby at some point. All right. Finally, it's my favorite slide, talking the important questions of the day about, in this case, what would a dolphin play a trumpet like this? So let's go to some questions. All right. Thank you. By God, we got a lot of it. Okay. How much cover design is? Oh boy, now you're making me go from memory. We have 2 levels of cover design. There's a basic and there is deluxe. So basic cover design would be, not a lot of overlap, not a lot of intensive design work. Oh, I wish I had memorized this. I believe it is $3.99 now. I'm sure I'm going to get whacked on the hand, or maybe Carter can put something in comments. I believe that is $3.99, and you get proof sent out to you. First, you submit a questionnaire, telling them all about your book, what mood you want, what feel you want. It's a great chance to elicit lots of information to help the designers. Then they do a proof. Proof comes back in anywhere between 14 to 20 days. We work back and forth with it. A lot of a lot of designs are accepted on the very first proof. But we're here to make things right. So we'll work back and forth with you until you get it right. So I think it's $3.99 for, let's see, I'm just going to check this out. I think it's $3.99 for our basic and $4.99 for deluxe. But you know what? If you send me your drop me an email at Stephen@BookBaby, I'll confirm that with you and I'll get right back to you. Okay, next. Can you use Canva to upload your book? I'm going to say you could probably use Canva to upload a cover design. I think if you convert it into a PDF, take it from Canva into a PDF, I'm pretty sure we can accept that. Boy, you guys are hitting me with technical questions and pricing questions that I did not prep for. And then in terms of the book itself, it needs to be in Word or a document. That's by far the best way for if you're going to get editing or if you're going to do any formatting work. They need to work with a really easy source file. And I don't think Canva is, unless it's a picture book. Call BookBaby, talk to a product specialist about that to can answer that. Okay, here we go. Heidi asks, my daughter and I are working on a children's photo book. Nice. Is there a size that works best for your printing, also that sells well? Okay, so yes, I'm going to go back to this 8.5 by 8.5. This seemed, and we do a lot of children's books, and I would say 1 out of every 5 books coming off the press seems to be a children's book these days. The 8.5 by 8.5 square seems to be the sweet spot. I mean, or people do letter size. They're usually looking at the larger sizes, though, for little hands, if it's a really small children's. Of course, we do a lot of YA books, too, that are in the 6x9 format, trade formats. But if I'm interpreting this correctly, it looks like that an 8.5 by 8.5 would be great. We do landscapes as well. They do so well. You just have to watch your pricing. A hardcover landscape can get a little expensive, maybe over your price range, but you can do that in softcover too. A lot of these books in softcover are fantastic. Do we have sizing templates for InDesign? We have templates. I don't know if they're InDesign oriented exactly, but they are absolutely sizing templates, and that's a great question to ask the support staff at BookBaby. I know they can answer that. We want libraries to pick it up too, and how that can work. Well, that's a nice thing. Libraries, we have distribution through Overdrive, which is the leading library distribution service. Now that's for ebooks only. We're looking for more printed distribution, but libraries can pick up the Ingram feed as well, and they can buy from that. The Ingram feed is the wholesale book catalog, if you will, and they are often part of the buying stream coming from that, or they can buy directly from you from your own website as well. And you can give them a discount. If you don't want to sell them at full price, you only want to make a little bit, you can give them a 40% coupon for them to order directly to your book through the bookshop. So many ways to skin that cat. All right, next. Do you guys, from Ms. Blueberry, hello Ms. Blueberry, do you guys help publish visual novels? So I'm guessing this is graphic novels, something like that, comic books. We do a number of those. Yeah, we don't have the real thin paper that a lot of these books appear on, so I wouldn't say it's our sweet spot, but that paper is kind of hard to find anyway now, especially in the self-publishing space. But we do have I think we have just 60-pound, I think, is our lightest paper, but the color is picked up beautifully on this, so the answer is yes, absolutely we do, and they can be distributed through print on demand. Roberta asks, any suggestions of how to get in the library of school systems? That's an interesting one. We are Overdrive does cater to some school libraries. It's mostly county systems, city libraries, people like that. The Philadelphia Library is in there. School databases. You know what? That's a really good question, and I will try to put that in one of my upcoming either weekend emails. I do that every Saturday, or in a blog post, because it's funny. I've had that asked to me about 2 or 3 times in the last few weeks, and we're going to work on that, because to me, distribution is really all. It's so important to really make your program sing. Okay, Debbie asks, what's the difference between KDP and BookBaby? Well, that's a great question. So BookBaby and KDP, we work very closely together. We're one of their largest accounts in the KDP system because of so many hundreds of thousands of books that we have uploaded into KDP. So on many instances, we are partners, all right? But we're your advocates for them. If there's ever a problem with a sale or something's wrong with the metadata, you don't have to call Amazon and wait in their massive phone queue. You call us, but we take care of it. So we're your customer service front to that. We're also the ones that are ensuring your files, either print or ebook, are delivered to them in just pristine shape. If you use KDP, you've got to upload it yourself. I believe on the ebook site, it's about a 90-page how-to manual, and it's a little bit more exacting. And so sometimes once that Word document gets uploaded, it kind of looks funny when it ends up on an ebook page. You wouldn't have that situation. One difference, to be quite upfront with you, is KDP doesn't charge much in the way of setup fees. They have some, but not a whole lot. And obviously we do, because we do the file prep, and we ensure that's correct. We let you buy ISBNs from us for a very low cost. If you just went directly to KDP, you don't have to have an ISBN, but that would limit you to only Amazon distribution. I always advocate for people to either get their own ISBNs, which we're happy to put on there, or buy one from us. And I know there's a blog post coming up for me to reprise. What's an ISBN and why is it so important? Because it always gets a ton of questions. Okay. So, love this one. Leonard asks, what about selling books with lots of swear words, like a Navy story? Profanity is allowed. There are many topics that we're not going to cover. We're not going to print. But No, we do allow that. We basically want to let the marketplace decide, how we should, we don't censor or anything like that. So, damn it, yes, we can do that. All right. If I or my daughter-in-law design my cover, is that a problem? Well, as long as you're a great designer and your daughter-in-law is a great designer, no problem at all. And we get a number of authors who like to do their own covers, and maybe they're very skilled at it. It's incredibly important that it's done in a professional manner, though. Nothing can make or break a potential book sale, and to have a cover that's just not tip top and up to the scrutiny. Just think about it. When you're on Amazon looking for a book, for a Kindle book, and you have a tiny little postage stamp square, to show your book off, it's got to grab your attention. And pros know how to do it. And I'm not saying you can't do that. And we do allow people to upload their own cover files, either them doing it or they've hired their own graphic artist. But just think carefully: is that the kind of image you're going to want for your book? Is it possible? Yes. Is it advisable? Unless you've designed a lot of book covers, I don't think I would want to take that risk. Okay. Carter, or not Carter, but someone asks, today's day business 10. I haven't heard anything yet from the editing team. Should I be worried that my book has lots of issues? I'm getting nervous about the organization style I use. No. We typically, and probably this is a line edit, not a copy edit, line edit a little bit more involved. Me Too Editor is doing a very thorough job. And I will say that we have gotten a lot of editing jobs here the last 3 or 4 weeks, and maybe we're taking 1 or 2 extra days, but they could be finding lots of things, or they just want to make sure that they have covered everything. Editing is not an overnight process. And again, when you get your file back, of course, you should take a lot of time and do you accept that edit? Do you accept that? My weekend column, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, I invite you all to go do that and look at the New York Times editing test that I include the link on. See what kind of editor you are. It was very humbling and humiliating. But no, I wouldn't be afraid that it's a couple of extra business days, but I'm sure it'll be there soon. If it isn't, give our folks a call quickly. All right. Next, what's a good size for nonfiction book? Okay, yes, there is. I think there's a sweet spot at 2 places. Letter size seems to be a very, very good for a nonfiction book. Usually, I would say most of our nonfiction books have a lot of inline graphics and things like that. It's good for that. And then there's always 6x9 trade, which is accepted standard everywhere. The pocketbook size when I was growing up used to be the main thing, but now it's a slightly larger size. It gives a lot of room, makes it readable. Larger type. Okay, here we go. How can I get into local bookstores and afterwards get it on the pre-launch on Amazon for those perks? Okay. So let's reverse that. So if you want to be involved in Amazon's KDP Select, they call it, that's what you should put in place first before you try to go to the bookstores. Realizing, and in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing blog posts about a book launch. And the point about book launches I try to make is, yes, it's a singular event and it's important and it's great and a chance for you to party with your friends about, hooray, my book is out. But it shouldn't be one day. It should be a couple of months even, because maybe you're going to launch it on Kindle Select for 1 month, and then the next month you're going to be trying to push it into bookstores, and the next month you're going to be trying to go into libraries. So there are many different activities. But the first thing, if you want to do Kindle Select, there are requirements to that. You've got to be on there for 90 days, I believe it is, only on Amazon. You can do countdown deals, meaning that the price will be lower. You can give it away for free. There are a number of perks of KDP Select, so that should come first, and BookBaby will handle that all for you. So it's sort of in that order. Your local store wants to feature you with a signing. It's fantastic, but not if I'm on Amazon. That's very interesting. Well, then you may want to reverse it. You may want to do the signings first and then slide it into KDP Select. The only thing about KDP Select is you can only do it once, and you have these 90-day windows. You have to tell us, okay, I'm done with it after the first 90 days, or you'd stay in it for another 90 days, and you have to be exclusive to Amazon at that time. You can't be anywhere else online, but you can be in local stores at the same time. Okay, I'm going to do one more. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of great questions here, and I wish I could answer them all. In fact, I'm going to try to include this in one of my next blog posts. As a Canadian, do I need to submit the Form W-9 in order to add my book to the bookshop? I believe, oh boy, you know what? That's a real good question. That's when to call the BookBaby customer service team. I don't want to give bad tax information, but I believe you do need to do that. And then finally, do we have any plans to help authors with audiobooks or the distribution? So I get asked this a lot. And I love audiobooks. Don't get me wrong. I listen to them all the time. And I used to listen to more when I was commuting to work. We work from home. We don't think audiobooks is the best investment for self-published authors just now. Now, someday they may be. When the costs of production come down, when the audio technology can exist where people can record books on their own and get relatively good quality, and Audible will accept them. Right now, to be on Audible, and that's the Kindle version of audiobooks, the giant audiobook company, they have to be professionally produced. They will not accept some person doing it with Pro Tools in their basement with even a good microphone. It's got to be done by a professional. That's going to cost a lot of money. There's that option, or you can basically split the royalties and you only get like 5% of the net if you want to engage in Audible's team of production folks. You know what? If you've done a great ebook and you've done a great printed book and you've had great success with those and you're selling lots of them and you want to do something else, well, I would suggest you write another book. But think about audiobooks later on in your career. Don't start there. It's still, even though people say, oh, audiobooks is growing 100%. Well, they went from 2% to 4% of the marketplace. It's just still not that big of a slice of the pie. There's so many other areas for you to find your audience that I would leave that till last. Don't skip it entirely, but I would leave that to last. All right, I think we are at the end of our hour. We actually went over a lot of great questions. I'm going to keep those and look for an upcoming weekender that I'm going to basically take these questions and have just a big, long mailbag. So I thank you very much for your time and attention. We'll be doing this again in sometime at the end of May. We'll let you know, sign up for our newsletter, and we will let you know when we're going to be doing this again. By the way, the winner of the consultation is Heidi Malako. So Heidi, I'll be giving you an email soon, and hopefully we can get together and talk about your project. So with that, thank you very much, and I will see you soon.